Tuesday night. They gave him the day off yesterday to try to get acclimated. They were both here this morning. I don't know for sure if they're in.
Okay.
They may give UC Saros, for example, they could give him an extra day or two and start him. But the problem is, like, he's the ace.
And they need these
This
games.
is a huge game.
So when do they usually when should we know who's in net tonight?
I'm not sure that they will make that public until the warm-up starts.
Okay. All right.
So we'll see who comes out and leads the team on the ice, because that's who you know is in the starting goal, whoever leads the team on the ice. So we'll see. Saros and Onanen both went out and skated. They had an optional skate this morning. Most of the guys did not skate because they've been practicing 5-6 times. The group that wasn't in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So Saros got a good workout in today. So I'm sure they'll talk it over. I'm sure they talked it over in the middle of the day, and they probably know who's going right now, but they just haven't said.
So even while the Olympics was going on, those that didn't participate still had their practice regimens going, or were they completely off too?
They had about 2 weeks off.
Okay.
They came back about a week ago, and they've had, I think, 5 or 6 practices as a group. And then they did send a couple of the younger guys down to play games in Milwaukee so they could have some game situations, right? So Matt Wood and Zach LaRue, who's going to make his season debut tonight, it looks like, those 2 guys have been playing in Milwaukee. So we'll see hopefully those guys will be able to provide a little spark because they've been playing.
It's an important game tonight, of course. The Predators are 4 points out of a playoff spot. So to get things going right before the trade deadline, they're going to have to come away with a win tonight or some sort of points. But I want to start today's show, gentlemen, with the breaking news of the day, of course. The Tennessee Titans engaged in a trade with the New York Jets. They traded a 1-for-1 player deal, which is rare in the NFL these days. The Tavondre Sweat meatloaf era in Tennessee has come to an end as they have traded him away for edge rusher Jermaine Johnson. I almost called him Jermaine Jackson this morning, and then I realized Tito and Michael probably aren't playing in the NFL. So, but I wanted
shout out to the Jackson 5, though.
I mean, who doesn't love the Jackson 5?
I got some Jermaine Jackson in my arsenal on the Spotify. I got some Jermaine.
There's plenty
even as a solo act, he's got some good songs.
He is probably Jermaine Jackson's probably the most famous Jermaine I know. Jermaine O'Neal probably comes to mind.
There's some good Jermaines.
There's a lot of good Jermaines, but
the one Jermaine O'Neal that sings too.
Is there?
Back in the day, yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher from the New York Jets, has been traded over here in return for Tavondre Sweat. I'm curious on you guys' first impressions when you heard the news this morning. I'll start with Willie.
Well, my first thought was, wow, Robert Saleh just had a pretty detailed answer at the Combine about Sweat specifically. And the things he mentioned, I thought were I don't want to say eye-popping, but they were noticeable, where he said, he needs to work extremely hard. It's a demanding position in our system, an interior defensive lineman. And he said, we do expect our interior linemen to go side to side, sideline to sideline, which is not what you think of when you think of Tavondre Sweat, right? He's a space eater. He is very talented, but he may not fit that bill.
Exactly.
And he said he would have to have a great offseason. And he was talking about working out with Big Jeff, all of that. So my first thought on the trade was, they don't think he's a fit. And then the other part of this is, I think it's very clear when you look at Jermaine Johnson's numbers, he's more of a known quantity. He's been in the league longer. I don't think it's a great trade as far as upside for the Titans.
Right.
Tavondre Sweat could turn into a great player in this league. He's already flashed some really good stuff. But it just tells me they weren't really willing to bet on him long-term in this system. And they're going to take the sure thing that Robert Saleh knows and go from there. So, D-Mates, I don't know what remember, Tavondre Sweat was a Rand Carthon pick.
Exactly.
He was not a Mike Borgonzi pick.
And I don't think this is any indictment on Rand Carthon and him choosing Tavondre Sweat. He just didn't fit the defense that they wanted to play. I don't think it's a deal where, the Titans got the better end of it. I really don't. Now, I did say and it's starting to sort of reign true. He doesn't need a 15, 20 sack guy in his defense.
Yeah.
He needs a bunch of guys running to the ball, disciplined sideline to sideline. And that is something that they probably believe that T'Vondre Sweat didn't fit, the sideline to sideline, because of his stature. Now, the last 2 years, T'Vondre Sweat has been great. His rookie year, he exceeded all expectations. His second year, he had some injuries, but he still played well, played good. This is an ascending player. The problem is that, again, he doesn't fit the defense that they want to run. Now, last year's defense, he fitted. That's what they wanted. They wanted a guy that can plug the hole, a guy that can push the pocket. He can push the pocket, and he can plug holes. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to go to the Jets and under Aaron Glenn's defense and be the type of player that he wants to be. But I just don't think the Titans got the better end of it as far as talent-wise. Now, listen, I can be wrong, and T'Vondre Sweat can sort of not play his way into being a dominant player. That can happen. And, Johnson can come here and, get 10, 12 sacks, and that would be good for this defense. But if you're just looking at it, talent for talent, I think the Titans, they may have taken a step back in regards to talent, not necessarily what they want to play, but talent-wise.
Let's get to the other part of it then. I think we're going to find that Johnson, and Saleh would know this, right, for him playing for the Jets for a couple years. And he had his best years when Saleh was there. I think you're going to hear good locker room guy, good team guy with Johnson. And I think that was a question mark with Sweat, with the work ethic, with the, all of that stuff. There were major questions that Sweat, I think, answered the bell really well his first year. The second year, he had trouble getting healthy. He had the tonsillitis. It's some weird things happened. That abdominal thing set him back. But the underlying current did suggest that, is this a guy that's going to really work? He's a guy who's a unique body. To keep in shape and be good, you've got to have that drive, that work ethic. I think that is a little bit more of a question mark, at least from where I sit. That I think because there's no other reason you would make this move other than the fit of the defense. A unique talent like Sweat, he's got a higher ceiling than Johnson. There's no two ways about it. This is a team that should be looking for long-term talent, so there has to be question marks there.
And Johnson, to me, his second season was really good, but then after that, he dipped down. The last 2 seasons has been bad. So you're getting a guy and listen, he can come in his defense under Saleh and sort of recreate what he did under Saleh with the Jets. But you traded away a player that was ascending. I get why you traded him, because he doesn't fit the defense, to bring in a guy that seems to be ascending based on the numbers. Now, again, he can come here and he can get back under the Saleh's defense and sort of reinvent himself. But this is not a one-for-one to me. And anybody that says it's a one-to-one, they're lying to themselves.
I would agree with
You're
that.
seriously lying, because the better talent is T'Vondre Sweat. The better fit is Jermaine Johnson. And I think that's what they're going for, fit.
I think it's worth noting that Jermaine Johnson is coming off of the year after his Achilles tear. So there's injuries concerning there. I agree with you, D-Mace. I don't think, in terms of a one-for-one trade, I think the Jets got the better end of the deal, just because I like the upside that T'Vondre Sweat brings, but I understand why it was made. I understand that. I think this was a topic of conversation around the front office ever since the GM change. I don't think Borgonzi saw this as a fit, and obviously Robert Saleh doesn't see this player as a fit. So what this does for me is makes me wonder, what are the Titans going to do at 4? Are they going to go edge rusher overall? Just because I don't think Jermaine Johnson is the kind of guy that's going to get you 15, 16 sacks a year. I think that's unrealistic. I think you can potentially draft that in the first round of this year's draft, maybe in Bain, Bailey, or Arvell Reese. Or is this the Titans' way of saying, we've kind of filled the major hole we need to fill in edge rushers? Maybe we'll get someone on the offensive end to help our quarterback, a la Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, because again, they don't need, even though he did have Bosa, they still played well when Bosa wasn't in the lineup. That shows you it's about the scheme and about what they preach and teach during practice. We should have known something when he said, I had a guy like Al Woods. You know what Al Woods' measurables are? He's 6'4", 309. You know what Big Sweat's measurables are? 6'4", 360, 350, somewhere around there. Yeah, he doesn't fit when you're talking about running from sideline to sideline. The last regime didn't get him necessarily to run sideline to sideline. They got him to plug holes and to push the pocket, and he did that. This regime wants somebody that can go sideline to sideline, play with like true speed and true power. T'Vondre Sweat, for a big guy, has light feet, and he has a lot of power, but he doesn't fit what this defense wants because they already got a guy that can plug a hole and push it in Jeffrey Simmons.
So I think that's the next piece to the puzzle that we might find out in free agency too as we get closer to the draft because, A, what do they have in mind to replace Sweat? You know, who's going to play alongside of Jeffrey Simmons in that slot? Jeffrey Simmons is going to make whoever plays there better. So maybe they have an idea internally or maybe a bargain free agent that they think could be the right guy. Mm-hmm. The other guy I'm intrigued with, you know, they got Jermaine Johnson. They've got Harrell. You know, they've got Femi. Like, they've got guys that they could try to rotate in a rotational front four kind of thing where maybe you got pieces. And then there's another guy that I think is going to hit the free agent market who played for Robert Saleh, and that's John Franklin Myers.
Yep.
And so he would be familiar with the defense. Saleh would be familiar with him. He's a guy that, you know, he's not a world beater or anything like that, but he, you know, he's supposedly one of the more sought after defensive linemen on the market.
Yeah.
If they go there, maybe they feel all right about it and then can go a different direction in the draft.
I think you just need to find someone that can get similar production to T'Vondre Sweat. Maybe not the exact same, maybe better, maybe worse. I think Franklin Myers would fit that mold, but look, I would feel good about the unit as a whole if we're going strictly hypothetical. You have Johnson, you have Simmons. Let's say you sign Franklin Myers, and then you draft Ruben Bain. I think that is a great defensive front four. I think that would be good. But overall, Willie, I think you're right in that we're going to find out a lot about what's going to happen to this team as free agency comes in. Maybe they are having more trade talks. You know, they're all together at the combine meeting each other. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these trades. But we're going to find out a lot about what's going to happen with the Tennessee Titans. And I think this is just the first domino to fall in terms of what's going to happen to this defense.
Yeah, they're going to, with an experienced coaching staff, I think what they're going to do is bring in guys that are experienced, that still have something left, that they feel that can sort of, because they're going to need guys that jumpstart it, guys that already knows this defense, guys that can play fast. Everybody can't be figuring this out at the same time.
Right.
So they're going to need guys that have been
already
in this defense, that they know. So bringing in, what's his name?
John Franklin Myers.
John Franklin Myers.
It's a page out of so many books. The first guy I ever saw do it. I remember Bill Parcells, those early Patriots teams he had after he retired for the Giants. He had a bunch of ex-Giants on there. So a lot of teams have done that. And I think it's, like you said, it hopefully will speed along the whole process. And I will say that, like, for your theory, Connor, if they do load up and go edge rusher at 4, I mean, we saw it with the Seahawks. We saw it with the Eagles.
Yeah.
If you have a great front 4, it makes everybody in your team better.
Oh, it makes your secondary a lot better.
It makes your secondary a lot better, but really your whole team. Like, if you have a force with your front 4, there's a ripple effect, even for your quarterback, I think.
I mean, look at the way the Seahawks won the Super Bowl this year.
No doubt.
They attacked the quarterback with the front 4, and I think the secondary had something to do with that too, but the defense as a whole just impacted the game. I'm not saying that's the way the Titans are going to win a Super Bowl is by you have to draft Ruben Bain at number 4 to bolster your defensive line, but I do certainly think it will help. It's a step in the process. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Coming up next, our good friend Terry McCormick will join the show to talk about the news as well as other things developing within the Tennessee Titans organization and at the NFL Combine. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you, broadcasting live from Bridgestone Arena. We are at Jack Daniel's Barrel House just outside Section 111 as the Preds are in action for the first time since the Olympic break tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. David James, our producer, is back broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Coming up next, Terry McCormick will join us. We'll talk about all things Titans right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you. Hey, let me quickly tell you that 94.9 The Fan is your home for Vanderbilt women's basketball, and coverage is presented by Ponce Law. Tonight, the Commodores take on Alabama at Memorial Gym at 6:30 p.m., and pregame begins at 6:15 p.m. Big one for the Doors tonight in Memorial
Big one.
Gymnasium.
And they're giving away, what do they call those things last night?
Squishmallows.
The Squishmallows,
Yeah,
man.
Squishmallows.
I didn't even get one. I waited to the end of the game. They ran out. At first, I was like, what are these things? I don't know. And I'm like, well, everybody's valuing it. Maybe I'll just go grab one and give it to
I'll have someone run across the
or
street.
something. If somebody could pick me up one over there tonight.
Yeah, we'll send someone out there and meet you up in the booth.
Yeah, hook me up, because they told me last night, I was like, we're out of them, but we'll have more at the women's game tomorrow night. I was like, well, I'm busy, but thank you.
I got a thing. Speaking of things that we have a guest joining us here on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Our friend Terry McCormick of Main Street Media covers the Titans, does a great job for them, is on the line with us. Terry, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Obviously, breaking news for the Tennessee Titans today as they trade away T'Vondre Sweat 1-for-1 for Jermaine Johnson over to the New York Jets. Just kind of your takeaways from that. Do you like the trade? Do you think it was a fair trade? Do you think the Titans could have gotten maybe a little bit more with the upside that T'Vondre Sweat provides?
I like the trade because I think it's a situation with the Titans where the guy they're getting, Jermaine Johnson, is now 2 years removed from an Achilles injury that he actually suffered at Nissan Stadium against the Titans in week 2 of the 2024 season. And he played for Robert Saleh before, actually had a Pro Bowl year in 2023, and was a really an ascending player before that injury. So I like the gamble. He's on a 5th-year option, which means it's a 1-year prove-it deal basically now for the Titans to see what this guy can do and see if he's worthy of being a long-term solution and helping with the pass rush. And then with T'Vondre Sweat, I had heard last year, back as far back as the Jarvis Brownlee trade when that happened, that T'Vondre Sweat was another guy who was kind of on thin ice with the organization just because they weren't happy with his conditioning. They weren't happy with his overall approach and his just kind of his whole demeanor in terms of the way he approached the game. And now with him being a 3-4 guy and the Titans going back to a 4-3, he really was going to have to do a lot of changing to his body and his game to find a role on this team. So I think it's a win for the Titans in that they get a guy who they know can help them if he's healthy.
Terry, the question emerges for me now that the Titans have sort of looked to adjust their edge rusher problem. I think you're going to need to add a lot more guys just for me to feel a lot better about it. But the question for me that kind of emerged as soon as I saw this was, does this sure up the Titans are probably going to take an edge rusher in the draft to try and bolster that front 4? Or do you think they're capable of going to the other side of the ball and maybe now that they feel they've addressed the edge rusher situation, they look to add someone to help Cam Ward? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, they need help at a lot of different places. And when you're sitting at 4, you need an elite player. You need somebody who's very productive. You need somebody who can change the game and be a difference maker. I'm not sure that any of the wide receivers are worthy of being picked at number 4. If you're going to pick a wide receiver, you need to find a trade partner and get down to around 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. If you're going to stick and pick at 4, I like, some of the pass rushers. I think Reuben Bain, that, Robert Saleh couldn't stop, praising him when we asked about him Tuesday at the Combine. And he really seemed to like Reuben Bain. And then Mike Borgonzi seemed to echo that, although he said they like all 3 of the pass rush guys that are projected to be in the early part of the draft with Arvell Reese and David Bailey as part of that. So I think they still need help at edge, and I think if you're going to fortify the defensive line and really make good with Jeffrey Simmons and now Jermaine Johnson, adding a guy like Bain to me would be a no-brainer. Now, that said, if they do get Cam Ward some help, then they're going to have to go a little different path. Maybe Jeremiah Love, although I don't know that they can, with as many needs as they have, I don't know that they can draft a running back 4th overall, even if he is the best offensive player in the draft.
Now, Terry, let's go back to the Tavondre Sweat trade. One, do you think that they ran that by or informed Jeffrey Simmons? Because this was a guy that Jeffrey was making it his business to take up under his wing and make sure he came back ready to play at a level that everyone expected. And then two, do you think it's an indictment on the last regime? I don't see it as an indictment. I just see it as a player that doesn't fit a scheme that the new coach and new regime want to run. But I think Tavondre is a hell of a player.
Yeah, I think Tavondre Sweat is a good role player. I think he's he eats up a lot of space in the middle. You saw what type of year Cedric Gray had, and I think some of that was because of the damage that Simmons and Sweat did on the interior of the defensive line, and it made life easier for those linebackers. I think the thing that's with Tavondre Sweat that, like you said, I don't think he's really a fit for this scheme anymore. And you combine that with some of the questionable work ethic and things like that had been kind of out there over his first couple of seasons, and it made it easier to move on from him. Now, do I think they ran it past Jeffrey Simmons? They may have, mentioned it to him, but I think that, obviously Sweat, the best thing he could do, even though he's been traded, the best thing he could do is continue to work out with Jeff, get himself in really good shape, go to New York and press there, and he's going to make himself some money either from the Jets or from another team in a couple of years.
Now, what are your assessments, or what do you expect them to do? One, with Peter Skoronski, do you expect them to try to get a long-term deal worked out with him? Because if he continues to play better, that means you're going to have to pay him more money, and it seems that's what he's going to do. And then Chigga Conquo, this is a guy that was critical and pivotal to their offense. He was the best run after catch guy they had on their team. So those two guys, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, Morganzi said as much yesterday that he's going to look at extending Skoronski pretty soon. So I think Jeff Simmons gets a new deal. I think Skoronski gets an extension. Now, as far as Chigga Conquo, he didn't elaborate when I asked him if any, what are their free agents, and I mentioned Chig specifically to him, if he was possible that they would extend him and keep him around. He said he didn't want to go into details with any of the players, didn't want to divulge that, but he said there were some guys that they were looking at extending. I think the question now becomes is this: if you're Chigga Conquo, you've been in a bad situation where, the team that you've been on has not been very good, but you've been a durable player. You've been somewhat reliable in terms of your production. And the question is, do you want to go somewhere else and try to cash in, maybe get more money than what the Titans are offering? Because, Derek, I don't know if you agree, but I think Chigga Conquo is exactly the type of player who could leave here and go have a lengthy career somewhere else, like we've seen with Jonnu Smith and before that with Jared Cook.
No, I think you can. That's why, to me, in an offense that's so young, keeping it, at least from their pass catchers, and you don't know what's going to happen with Ridley, keeping a guy like Chigga Conquo, I think it would be really I think it would be critical for Cam, because he and Cam have built this rapport, and Cam trusts him out there on the field.
Yeah, I think there's some value to that too, because you've got a young quarterback, you've got receivers a position you've got to upgrade, and tight ends are oftentimes a security blanket for a young quarterback. I mean, for the first 3 or 4 years of Steve McNair's career, until you and Steve really took off together, Frank Wycheck was his go-to guy. When it was 3rd and 8, he was looking for Frank to catch a 9-yard pass most of the time. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And a guy like Chigga Conquo offers some upside more than just being a chain mover. You're right. He can run after the catch. Now, the big thing with Chig, that the part of his game that needs to improve, he's a willing blocker. He's just not very good at it. But the thing of that is, if you bring other tight ends in who can do more of the heavy lifting as far as the blocking, you could afford to have a guy like Chigga Conquo, who's maybe only average to below average at blocking, but you can reap the benefits of him being able to catch passes and move chains and make explosive plays occasionally.
We're talking to Terry McCormick. He has been at the Combine, so he has been getting the lowdown on the Titans. Terry, just a general question. I'm really curious if you heard any buzz about Ty Simpson. I guess we're going to find out more, but a great scenario for the Titans, it would seem, would be if he were to shoot up the draft board. He is a talent. He's young. He surprised some people by coming out, but a second quarterback that could jump up the charts, I think would only probably help the Titans with their options. True?
Absolutely. I think, the Titans, even though they're not interested in picking Ty Simpson, they're probably interested in watching Ty Simpson and seeing what he can do at the Combine and at his pro day, because you would like to see another quarterback get in that top 5 pick conversation beyond just Fernando Mendoza being number 1 with the Raiders. I think, to have Ty Simpson elevated, I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that, but to have him elevate way up the draft board as the draft gets closer would certainly benefit the Titans, because then it would guarantee that you're going to get to probably choose from 2 of the top 3 pass rushers if somebody vaults ahead of you and takes Simpson with one of the first 2 or 3 picks. And it also, if the tackle from Miami enters the conversation, it could give you the chance to have your choice of all 3 of those guys. So to me, the Ty Simpson's kind of the wild card in this. Now, that said, I still think he's more likely to go in the Bo Nix type of range, going 12 to 15, than he is to go in, at number 2 or 3.
What is your sense, speaking of quarterbacks, of what Robert Saleh said about Will Levis? Do you feel like they want to see if he can be the backup this year, or do you think they could end up moving in another direction? Because I'll be honest, when he talked about Sweat, I certainly didn't see a trade coming. I wasn't stunned based on what we already knew. But Saleh said some interesting things about Levis, but I wonder if we might hear his name in a trade tomorrow at the same time.
Well, it's a good point. I may be in the minority. I'm of the opinion that you keep Will Levis this year, because Cam Ward is coming off a shoulder injury, and you don't really know until you see him throw and you see him get out there and do it. You don't really know that he's 100% healed and he's going to be able to go forward. I keep Will Levis at least through training camp and preseason. And then the other part of that too is, if you want to move Will Levis, it's going to be better for you if he puts some good things on tape through the preseason and some joint practices than it is him having sat out for an entire year, having had shoulder surgery. So to my way of thinking, and if I'm Will Levis, yes, I want an opportunity to go somewhere and start. But 2, if you make it through this year, the way quarterbacks have been recycled, the way Malik Willis is now a hot commodity on the free agent market, there's nothing that says Will Levis couldn't be a hot commodity on the 2027 free agent market if he gets some spot duty this year and excels at it.
Terry McCormick has been our guest here on DVD. Terry, thanks as always. Hope you're having fun at the Combine. Hope to talk to you very soon.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Terry McCormick of Main Street Media joining D. Mace Vingen and Donick here on the program. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Catch D. Mace with 1025 The Game live at Music City Indian, located at 1003 8th Avenue in Nashville, this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Nash and the Preds Energy team will be there, plus enter to win Preds tickets and your chance to win a custom Predators Indian motorcycle signed by the whole team from Law Tigers and Music City. Of what Terry had to say, plus dive more into some roster construction and roster moves the Tennessee Titans have made the past couple of days, right here on DVD on 1025 The Game.
F&M Bank Banking made easy on purpose. That is the motto. They want to take some of the burden off of your financial situation. Look, everybody loves to live life day to day without stressing over their money situation, the future with the finances. And so you need somebody that you can trust and really values your business. That is what F&M Bank is all about. That's why they just invite you to find the nearest location to them. And that is myfmbank.com, the website that will show you exactly how close you are. I think you might be surprised. They're in everybody's backyard. That is the idea. They want to get right in the middle of your community. They want to work with you, and they've got the tools to help you, like the Smart Swipe card, business-to-business loans, HELOC programs, all of those things. Just go to myfmbank.com and tell them that we sent you here on 102.5 The Game. We take it to the bank every Friday at 5:45, and we'll do that again tomorrow on the show. We've had a blast with that all year long. It's F&M Bank, member FDIC.
T-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you. Adam Vingen still on paternity leave. He will be back soon, though. We are live from Bridgestone Arena today in the Jack Daniels Barrel House just outside Section 111. Predators and Blackhawks in action tonight in the first game back from the Olympic break. Could not be more excited for some hockey tonight in Smashville, but we're talking Tennessee Titans here. The breaking news of the day, T'Vondre Sweat, a third-year defensive tackle out of Texas, has been traded to the New York Jets for defensive end Jermaine Johnson. Let's get to some of your thoughts on this. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Keegan on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, not a massive fan of the trade at all. If we have two good defensive years with Johnson, that's great. But if Sweat is a top 20 defensive tackle for 10 years, it's going to look really bad down the road. I mean, just throw a 6 with Johnson, and I feel much better about it. But just straight up feels kind of gross. And I think that's kind of the general conclusion us three have kind of come to, guys, is that straight up, maybe not the best trade of all time. The upside to Devondre Sweat seems to be something that I think is a factor in all of this. But I think we've all come to the conclusion that ultimately between Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh, it just sounds like they decided he wasn't going to be a fit for this defense.
D-Mace, I just think in a nutshell, it is a guy that was drafted in the previous regime that they were not willing to bet on, even though I think they're aware, just like the texter, that this guy's got a unique skill set that's hard to find. But I think they've done enough evaluating that they think it's ready. I'm ready to move on. Let's go in a different direction. And that, you read into that how you would. He's not willing to bet on him.
And that's one reason. And I think here's the.
They don't want to babysit him every day. They don't want to be on him every day about, hey, what about your weight and all of that stuff. I don't think.
No, I get that part. But this is when you're being disingenuous. When you tell us last week, everybody get a clean slate.
Right.
Everybody gets a clean slate. We're going to talk to you. We're going to see how you work, but everybody get a clean slate. But then you trade a guy, it's to me, if it was based solely on the fit because of the defense, then okay. But it seems like it's more than that, So if that is indeed the case, you're being disingenuous to me. Like, if you're going to give me, maybe Sweat came in and after talking to Jeff was like, man, I'm gonna be a different person this year. This year they're gonna see a different Devondre Sweat. Well, hell, you ain't give him a chance to prove it to you. But I get it was because, as they're gonna frame it, it's because of style of play, defense we're gonna play, and we just don't believe Devondre Sweat can consistently go sideline to sideline. Okay, but ain't you the same person that said we're going to give everybody a clean slate? See, I listen to people's words.
Yeah.
It's a business.
No, I get it's a business.
They could do the same thing with Levis for all we know.
Yeah, they could do the same thing with Levis.
He said some pretty good things about Levis.
I feel like we might see that, actually.
That's why you can't believe them no further than you can throw them.
Right. Well, here's the thing with Johnson. I've never done a study because I think we all know that if you tear your ACL, there's a decent amount of people that have come back and been just as good, right? As long as you're not, 30-something years old. It's hard at that point. So Jermaine Johnson blew out his Achilles. For a defensive lineman, can you be the same? Can you get back to where you were after going through that injury? I don't know. I don't know what the studies show on that one, but that's a pretty big injury to come back from, to be, if not to play, like we know he's going to be able to play. He played almost all the games last year.
Yeah.
Or played 13 at least. But he has not been the same guy since that injury.
That is something, though. It always seems like the year after the year of an Achilles
that's what you would hope.
That's best case scenario, of course. But you're right, Willie. He hasn't been the same since that injury. And quite frankly, he's a first-round pick in the 2022 draft. I wouldn't deem him as a first-round caliber player right now. Up to this point in his career, I think he's had a total of like 13 sacks throughout 4 years. He's on his fifth-year option. Yeah. He's going to need a new contract if he performs well. But the thing that bothers me most about this is now 2 second-round picks the Titans just – I don't know the answer to. Like Devondre Sweat, you traded him. You don't think he fits here. Fine. Femi Oladejo, you just traded for a player that plays the exact same position as him. And I don't know if they're going to go beyond that and, look to add more guys in free agency or draft someone in that same position. But it just seems like kind of a maze of things.
I think what he's trying to do, I know what he's trying to do is create competition.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that. Bring in guys that are going to push Femi or push any one of those, Harold, one of those young guys. And hopefully by some of these veterans that they're going to bring in that knows the defense, hopefully by them pushing them and teaching them and showing them how to be a pro, that will ultimately make those guys better. So I'm not too much worried about that in a sense. But I wonder how free agency goes when you talk about their defensive line.
Sure.
Are they willing, or are they looking to bring in another veteran player? or like you said, Connor, will they go in the draft?
Right.
And get them a young guy that can kind of grow with these veterans that may have only, 3-4 more years left on that, to play. So they're trying to structure this defense, and I've seen this happen before. They're trying to structure this defense where, we have a couple guys that know the defense. Then we have guys underneath them that are developing and learning the defense. As long as we go get some pros, and what I mean pros is guys that are going out there doing things the right way in the weight room, in the meeting rooms.
Yeah.
So as they sort of kind of segue out, those younger guys are watching them, they're developing, and now because of the rotation that they've had, now they got the experience and they're ready to go.
I think it's clear, D-Mace, that we should emphasize that point. They clearly value that part of it. What veterans are going to clock in and set the tone. We talked so much about a guy like Ryan O'Reilly, who, just in a vacuum, you would say, wow, he could get a lot in a trade, so trade him. But what you don't see is every day the value he has by being on the team and the influence he has on other players. There's value there.
Yes.
So I think the Titans clearly value those kind of players, especially with a new coaching staff, a relatively new GM. They want the culture, the environment in that building to be a certain way. And I think the trades of both Sweat and Brownlee definitely tell you that.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Gil is on our phone line waiting very patiently. Gil, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Doing well.
Yeah, what I wanted to say about the situation is I like the trade. I think who knows what the defense needs more than solid to actually make it work since it's his defense. And I also think that since he's been a successful defensive coordinator, when free agency opens, there are going to be some veterans that actually want to come play with him. And I think we can get an edge right then and there because I don't see Ruben Bain being a top 5 player at his position coming off the bat. But that goes with me saying I want Jeremiah Love. I think Jeremiah Love is an explosive player. He'll make everything easier on Cam Ward. Other teams will have to game plan to stop him. I mean, the defenses will get a little more vanilla. And I just think that's the only player out right now who's like a game changer that we can actually get. And I'm all on Love. I think that just helps Cam Ward out a lot. And I also think with us having, Saleh having McCaffrey, he knows how important it is to have a good running back for a quarterback.
Thanks for the call, Gil. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's kind of the debate a lot of Titans fans are having in that, do you want to go defense? Do you like the guys that are available at that position? Or do you want to take someone that you think is capable of helping Cam Ward, whether that be a running back or wide receiver, you name it. It's an interesting conversation to have. I think you have a point, but he did make the point that there are guys at the edge available that are just top tier guys. None to me that are over the age or under the age of 30 that you wouldn't have to pay a pretty penny for. I would prefer getting youth and getting more guys into this, like we've been talking about, guys, pros that are experienced and know what it's like to compete at an NFL level. Let's go back to our phone lines. Kelly is on our phone line waiting very patiently. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Saleh knows Jermaine Johnson from the Jets, as we know, and he doesn't want to have to deal with any problem children or people have to babysit. He knows what he's going to get from Jermaine Johnson. He knows he has an upside getting from injury. You can never have enough pass rushers, and the potential's there, and I'm very happy they're doing this. And Sweat is just a negative force on it. He'd be great for a 3-4 in the middle. That's about it. He's not going to be helpful for our defense, especially with the way we changed it. And at least we're getting something for him. Thank you.
Appreciate the call, Kelly. Yeah, I think you guys and I share the same belief in that. Yeah, it was probably time. It was trending in that direction. It was clear they didn't think he was a fit here, but it just feels like 1 for 1. Is that it? Is that all you can get?
I think it's hard to trade a guy like Sweat and get dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you have to know going in that a guy that you control for 2 more years, cheap, like Jermaine Johnson is at a stage of his career. They're going to have to make a decision on him after this year with the 5th-year option, right?
Yeah.
So it's time. Like, what do you got? He came into the league at a later age. His first year, he was 23. So remember, with COVID and all these things now, you sometimes guys spend a little more time in college, as we know. But I think, if I remember correctly, Sweat was younger, right? Sweat is younger. So he's a guy that still has a lot of room for growth, right? And I think that's what the Jets, who are at the absolute bottom, what do they have to lose, right? I think this was one the Jets probably saw as a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, you control your cap. It's worth noting that the Titans are going to take on $13 million in cap space, which compared to the $100 million they have free right now isn't much. But that is some cap that they're eating up to take on Jermaine Johnson. I don't know. Ultimately, I'm okay with the move. I think it makes sense. I understand it. But at the same time, it is kind of disappointing to see a guy you just took in the second round 2 years ago and a guy that I think has a lot of upside. It's a shame to kind of see him go.
Yeah, because, listen, aside from what has been, sort of put out there, he was a good player. He showed that he was ascending as a player. Again, his rookie year, I think he exceeded what people thought he would do. The second year, he just had injuries and things of that nature, and still played well when he was out there, but they just didn't get enough from him. And the defense at times suffered, because he wasn't out there, or when he comes back, he got to sort of get back into the groove. But he goes somewhere else, and you just hope that he takes this, one, as a learning lesson, but two, as a motivator to go out there and dominate. And hopefully with Johnson, they can get a guy that, if you're making this trade, he needs at least 10 sacks. He does. That's just me. And maybe that's a lofty goal, but he needs at least 10 sacks. If you're making a trade like this, yeah.
I think that's a good bench line. I think that's a good call, D-Nice.
He needs to be better than an Arden Key.
Exactly.
Somebody like that, right?
Absolutely.
Because I don't know how they're going to use him if he's every down. We'll see how Femi does, right? If it becomes like a committee and you got a lot of guys, Harrell thrown in there, and we got to see what they do at 4, right? If they're putting a young stud, that those are all variables in how many sacks Jermaine Johnson would actually get. But I think he needs to be an upgrade from what they've had.
I agree.
At the very least on the edge.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. He can't be another Arden Key. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Coming up next, in hour number 2, we'll start off the hour with Outkick's Jonathan Hutton as he joins the program. We'll talk to him about the Devondre Sweat trade. Maybe some college football and college hoops conversations come up as well. We'll get to that on the other side. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. This is DVD. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you. We are live from Bridgestone Arena today in the Jack Daniels Barrel House just outside Section 111. Predators and Blackhawks doing battle tonight in the first game back from the Olympic break. And a very special shout-out. I can't believe I forgot to mention this in the top of the first hour, but congratulations to our friend, the voice of the Nashville Predators, who you can hear later tonight with Puck Drop at 7 p.m., Pete Weber, for being inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Congrats, Pete.
Way to go, Pete.
Petey, we love you. We give you our congratulations.
We kept the secret this morning at the morning skate. We didn't tell him. He said, hey, I'm going over to the Omni to get on Chase and Big Joe's show. I was like,
did he cry?
Really? Really?
Did he tear up?
Well, I don't know. I didn't.
I'm
missed
sure
it.
he probably teared up.
I'm sure he got
Did the spirit of David Baker show up? That's the football one, but regardless.
That is the football. That's a big man right there. Dave Baker used to be the
Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah.
He used to be that's what you're thinking of, right? He was the Hall of Fame guy. Before that, he was the commissioner of the Arena League back in back when the Arena League had some clout. Like when Pat Sperduto was the coach, the Nashville Catch. It was a spring league. They made some mistakes, I think, to take it where it is now. But I've had a chance to meet Dave Baker in person. That's a big dude right there. That is a big dude. I also had a chance to be part of the surprise when they surprised Terry Crisp and put him a few years ago into the Hall of Fame. So great job, Brad Willis, good friend of mine. He heads up the Hall of Fame. They do a good job of keeping it under wraps and then springing it on him. So congratulations to Pete, right alongside of Terry in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame and Derek Mason.
There we go.
We got Hall of Famers all around us.
I'm just surrounded by legends today. It's unbelievable. Speaking of legends, let's welcome in our next guest, Outkick's very own Jonathan Hutton, to the program. Jonathan, how's it going?
Legendary, because I have witnessed David Baker walk into a room, much like Willie. It is something to behold. Trust me.
I can imagine. So, Jonathan, obviously, the news of the day, Tavondre Sweat traded to the New York Jets for Jermaine Johnson. Your initial thoughts on the move? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What speaks to you?
Yeah, I mean, I like it, mainly because it gets a position of need to the Titans that for a position and a player that they weren't going to have fit into their defensive front. That was the whole concern about Tavondre Sweat was, does this defense call for a nose tackle? Because that's exactly what he is. And I think it also shows Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh working together in a great way on this particular front. To get a player that had his best year with Saleh from New York, albeit coming off of an Achilles injury, not last year, but the year prior. And Borgonzi, I'm sure, fills Robert Saleh in on the fact that this is a guy that's probably not going to convert down to a 30-pound defensive tackle. He's going to probably be and remain a nose tackle. So, yeah, I think it's good for Tavondre Sweat, too, by the way. It's not just good for the Titans. I think the Jets end up getting a pretty good player for what they're going to ask him to do.
Does with the addition of Jermaine Johnson, obviously he's an edge rusher in a position of need for the Titans. What do you think that signals for Femi Oladejo? I think this was a year that maybe not a prove-it year, but a year where we need to see some building blocks. We need to see some momentum in the right direction. But what do you think the mindset and the message surrounding him should be?
Well, the mindset for him needs to come in and be versatile and time to turn up the gas a little bit. You know, like it's time to go. Mindset for the Titans should be come one, come all, because the depth of that position isn't great, and it still isn't great, despite bringing in Jermaine Johnson. Because again, the Achilles injury, he had just 3 sacks last year. He did finish the season, so it's not like he's hurt now, but he has been. He's been coming off of that injury. So, yeah, they don't. I think it's on both sides of things. They need to develop talent, and Oladejo is one of those players that they drafted to develop. And now it's Robert Saleh's staff that's going to be doing that. And again, versatility is the name of the game with him, because they're already like looking at guys like Arvell Reese and others. Oladejo is going to have to be forefront of the development.
Now, Hud, do you think it's a far-gone conclusion that L'Jarius Sneed will not be in the Titans uniform this upcoming season, because there hasn't been much talk outside of, I think, TD post something, if I'm not mistaken, with L'Jarius Sneed just rehabbing and working his way back. But there hasn't been anything coming out of the Titans building saying that they're looking to cut him or trade him or whatever. But do you envision them, or can you envision them in this solid defense?
Mace, I can't. I don't know how much of this plays a factor. I'm sure it would. He's going to be designated as a post June 1st cut whenever that happens. And he's going to have to pass a physical at some point if they wanted to do anything with him right now. So they're going to waive him injured, more or less, is what's going to happen. I don't think he would pass a physical right now if they wanted to trade him. And they're going to cut him whenever he's injured. It's probably going to be post June 1st whenever that happens. Plus, there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes there with legally and all that stuff. I'll just say, I would be shocked if L'Jarius Sneed is playing within that defense just based on everything that's gone down and how things have played out.
So even with that, you don't think that because you say you believe he more than likely would be a post-June 1 cut?
I think so, based on the savings.
Based on the salary and how it would be if they cut him before then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just based on the salary cap savings that you get, however that's designated, to me, I believe it's going to be a post-June 1st type move. They can make the move and just designate him as post-June 1st.
Okay. Now, speaking of that, Cushenberry, I think that may have come as a surprise to a lot of people. I know it came as a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Especially with Corey Levin not being under contract. Where do you think they go to Corey Levin to try to get him to sign a 2 or 3 year deal, or do you think because I don't think there's centers in this year's draft that you would move up, say, in the 3rd round to get in this draft. So bringing a guy like Corey Levin back, do you think that's an option?
Man, it surprised me a bit too. But to me, I just look. I took this as they're going to make a big swing at center. Who's the center up in Baltimore?
Lindenbaugh. But I believe Baltimore's going to try to sign him back with every cent they have.
Titans loved him whenever he was coming out into the draft a few years back. Not that this is the same regime, but the point being, it would have to be that type of level. And maybe they're viewing this Mason going, he just wasn't the same player after he came back from the Achilles tear. Maybe they're viewing that at the same time too. It's a anchor position up front of the line that they have to get fixed. And they I think you and I are surprised because they created a huge hole.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to.
And they got to replace the right guard.
That's right. And so I immediately thought that, right? But clearly by making this move now before the league year even begins, this has been a part of their plan of them moving on. So they're either going through the draft or they're going to go with a big swing type guy to fill in and get going and get moving. Like, is there a Brian Dable connection somewhere throughout the free agency wire? I mean, that's been the connection with everything else offensively.
Now, what do you think they do with Chigakonkwo? Do you think they, make him a serious offer to come back, or do you think they will allow him to test the market and then make an offer?
I think they're going to let him
one
test
at all.
I think they'll let him test it and then get involved with that type of whatever game it is that they're playing to try to negotiate with him. They'll play the game with him a bit because I think there's some other tight ends that they feel okay about production wise, scheme wise to bring in. Plus, look, they're going to he's going to run a lot of 2 tight. He'll have 2 tight ends on there. A lot of 11 personnel, but I think for this offensive line, this quarterback, max protect as much as you can. They want to run the football. They'll have 2 tight ends on the field. And, is Okonkwo a part of that? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But I don't think it's a priority, Mace.
Mhm.
Like, and I think because of that, you let the guys who are, if they're not on your priority list, you let them test it, kind of set the market themselves. And if they get big time money, so be it. If not, we get them back at the level we thought we would have them at, and everybody seems happy after testing.
Jonathan Hutton is with us. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. So, Jonathan, does this trade for Johnson have you thinking it's more likely or less likely that they draft an edge guy at number 4?
More. I still think more because they wanted one. They want one pass rusher that's on one side of the that's like one style, and they want another pass rusher on the other end that's more like another. I don't think it tips their hand one bit, Willie. And I think it's in terms of value, if they stick at number 4, this to me, there's more value at pass rush than any position right now, unless you're going to try to convince me that they're going to take a running back right there at number 4. But I would still stick pass rush because of the elite of the elite. When you have the chance to go and get someone at that position, at that specific position, that's going to be a pass disruptor, you have to go do that. Look around the league and the top guys who have been drafted. Baseline, the talent ends up being like Derek Morgan, first round pass rushers, and he was a good player, not a great player. I'd go up high, go top 5 pass rush, and see what damage that guy could do for your defense.
It's an interesting point. If they could load up the defensive line and then have the offensive line continue to take a step forward, if you've got your quarterback, your O-line, and your D-line set by the end of this coming year, I think that's a really good foundation. I think you could probably find the other pieces from there.
Well, and I think that's the way to build if you're giving to Robert Saleh his defense. His defense has always been aggressive up front. Like he's always been pin your ears back and get after the QB. He's going to rotate a lot of players too. They rotate a lot of players on the front. So look, I don't think this signals one way or the other how much more, how much less they were going to consider pass rush. I still think they're heavily considering making sure that they end up with an elite pass rusher in the first round.
Give me a thought on the Vanderbilt and Tennessee basketball as we sit here as they come down the home stretch. They're both clearly going to be in the tournament.
Yep.
I could see them with the wrong matchup, both losing in the first game. I could see them with the right matchup, winning a couple games. I don't know how deep either one of them could go. I think it could be very intriguing. And that game on Saturday was a dogfight.
Man, that was a great game, wasn't it? It was such a fun, and the officials let them play. I don't know how consistent the officiating is going to be in our scenario here, but I love it. I love the game on Saturday. Let me say this: I think Vanderbilt goes deeper just because of the sharpshooting. They've got the guy. They've got a guy they can get the ball to, catch, shoot, and just swish. Tennessee's got those players, but they don't heat up. It takes them a while to heat up, and that's kind of the trend. I think Vanderbilt can come out swinging and be up by 15 pretty quickly on a random NCAA tournament game day, just by the sharpshooting. And look, it's not often they get held to between 60 and 70 points. I go into a game against Vanderbilt thinking I got to post 80. So I like Vanderbilt because of that. But if we're going to get games the way we saw them against Tennessee, I'm all for it. And look, Tennessee's going to be a hard out. That's how I've described them. And that doesn't mean they have to be eliminated round 1. But they're edgy, and they've got they're rough around the edges, though, to make them a little dangerous come tournament time when they get streaky and have a little belief. And one of the main players begins to catch fire and believe in the fact that they're one of the best going.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on every day, wherever you can find it. Hut, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Pete Weber. And Willie, have a great call.
All right. Thanks, Hut.
Jonathan Hutton.
Got to work the rust off in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, you do.
Hoping for it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like
if the guys come out flying like they did in the Olympic gold medal game, I'm screwed.
It's like spring training. You're going back in. Got to get the bat hot.
If it goes full speed early, I'm gonna be like,
Just keep your eye on the ball. No hangers
You
outside.
might be a skate behind.
Right down the middle. Just make a good contact. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on DVD. We are live from Bridgestone Arena, just outside Section 111 at the Jack Daniels Barrel House. If you're headed to the game to watch the Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks do battle tonight, come by, see us, say hello. We'd be happy to say hello to you. Coming up next, a big game this weekend for Vanderbilt men's basketball. They are headed to Rupp Arena to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Let's get some thoughts on that one, boys. Coming up next, right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game. Yeah, D-Mace. What does this make you think of when you hear this?
Julius Erving, the finger roll. Julius Erving going underneath the basket and coming back on the other side.
NBA Dr. J or ABA Dr. J?
AB, that was ABA Dr. J.
New Jersey
No,
Nets.
that was Philadelphia Dr. J. When he went underneath the basket.
Yeah, that was in the NBA final against the Lakers, against your Lakers.
Absolutely, yes.
I have to say, I memorized all the words.
Oh,
of that
you
song
had
right
to.
there.
You had
I mean,
to.
you get the boombox out on the playground. You crank that song up. You sing it along, and you shoot around, and you become a great player.
I remember this from Like Mike. That shows how young I am.
Yes.
Welcome back in, DVD, here on 102.5 The Game. We are here at Bridgestone Arena, just outside Section 111 in the Jack Daniels Barrel House. If you're coming by for the Predators game tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks, David Janes is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And you heard the music. It is a big, big game for Vanderbilt men's basketball coming up this Saturday against Kentucky in Rupp Arena. Both teams coming off, Vanderbilt. Both teams are coming off of wins. Kentucky beat South Carolina on Tuesday. Vanderbilt, of course, winning last night against Georgia in Memorial Gymnasium. But this is two teams that are playing for different things, but both big things. Kentucky is playing, I don't want to say they're completely eliminated from the tournament because they're not. They're probably safe to get in, but they're playing with their lives on the line right now. Vanderbilt is safely in the tournament, but I feel you want to win and get some momentum heading into the SEC tournament and, of course, the national tournament. It all comes to fruition this Saturday. Willie, I'm curious of your thoughts on Vanderbilt heading into this one against Kentucky.
They got the very important win that they needed last night, and it was not easy, just as I kind of thought. It looked like it might be easy early. They got up by 20, where it just looked like Georgia couldn't do anything right. Then it completely flipped, where Georgia got very hot. Georgia is a really interesting team to me. I've watched them a few times now. They can look really good, and they can look discombobulated.
It's sort of like Missouri.
I think it's very similar comparison. They both have a high ceiling when they're clicking, and they can both get kind of out of sorts and lose to just about anybody. Last night, they come back from 20 down. They're still hanging around. They closed the gap, and they missed a dunk that would have put them ahead.
Yes.
Vanderbilt never trailed in the game, but Georgia missed, I would say, an uncontested dunk that would have put them ahead, and that seemed to shake everybody back the right way. I thought, big picture, Duke Miles took a step forward. He got into some foul trouble, but he was much more effective last night than he was against Tennessee. Derek, you observed, and I agree with you. I still think Tyler Tanner is down a notch from where he was earlier in the year. I don't know if he's still coming back from whatever illness he had, or he's just getting worn down a little bit because of all the minutes he had to play without Miles. But that's an important question.
Yeah, it is moving forward because I think, maybe, yes, there is something to, the energy being sapped out of you because you're sick and you're trying to replenish yourself, hydrate to get your energy back up. I think that is a part of it. But I think also, too, is when Duke Miles was out for those, how long was he out? 3-4 games, Duke Miles?
It was more than that.
It was a couple weeks.
Yeah. I think teams really beat him up. I think because they knew he was the only primary ball handler. And he was one of those guys that can't create his own shot. And boy, did they beat him up. Now, he stood tall and he held on and he carried the team while Duke Miles was injured. But I think because of that stretch, now you're starting to see him being a little worn down. I look at the last two contests that they had. The guards went at him offensively and they beat him up defensively. And I think that may end up being a problem moving forward for Vanderbilt because they need, unless somebody like Bean comes on and can and he's not a great ball handler, but he's somebody that can bring the ball up the court where, Tanner doesn't have to take that constant, pushing and shoving on him But he's going to have to, and I'm sure the coaches realize this, the closer and closer they get to tournament play, it gets a little bit tougher, and teams are going to start zeroing in on him as being, if we take him out the game, it's going to make everything difficult for everybody else.
I think difficult is the good word, Connor, right now.
Yeah.
It's just been a little harder for Vanderbilt. It ended up with 88 points last night, so their offense was good. But it just seems like they're having to work a little harder. I want to see if they catch a second win and get back to that level they were playing early offensively, the efficiency. Everybody was so confident they were knocking down, it seemed like every shot, the explosiveness. Tyler Tanner, he's still playing great.
Yes.
But he's not playing player of the year level like he was maybe earlier in the season. He's having he's a guy that expends a lot of energy, right? He will break you down. He's going off of screens. He's slicing to the basket. He's not a huge guy. He made key plays last night, but I think where it's affecting him the most is with the three-point shot. His percentage has steadily come down some. So that's what I'm watching for. I want to see if Miles keeps getting better. And the other guy that hasn't been clicking as much as Nickel, right? I think Nick teams are also doing, I think, a better job at making it tough on Nickel. But I think, too, he's just a little bit off right now with his footwork. He's just a little off balance with some of these threes he's taken. He might be pressing just a bit. I would look at that. But I come away with that game last night and say, hey, that wasn't Vanderbilt's best, but they still beat a Georgia team that was good enough to win at Rupp, and Georgia was feeling pretty good about themselves coming into that game. So that was a good bounce-back win.
Do you like that Duke Miles still comes off the bench? I think that may be a theme moving forward where they may stick with it because he brings instant firepower off the bench.
Points
along
off
with
the bench.
Bing.
That's a good thought. I hadn't thought about that, but he did it last night.
Yes.
He came in and gave him a spark. I am curious myself if they stick with that. I just assumed that eventually he'd work his way back into the starting five, but sometimes you get that, you stick with it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. A guy like Bing has to come on, and he's playing well, at least from the defensive side of the ball. He's been one of those guys that he's interchangeable.
It's like he's always stuck in second gear.
Yeah.
If you catch my drift there.
All right, so Connor, give me the Kentucky lowdown here.
All right.
How do you think they're looking? Because we know what happened the first time, right? It was without Miles.
Yes.
Vanderbilt just shocked them, just blew them right out of the water. That will be in the back of Kentucky's mind on Saturday for sure, and it's an important game for them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very physical game. It's going to be a game won on guard play because neither team, I feel, has big post presence. They can score inside, of course, but Kentucky's missing Jaden Quaintance, who is their lottery pick projected center, is very physical, and Malachi Moreno, I guess, is their number one option in the post. But this is a game and two teams that are reliant on outside shooting and guard play. So if Vanderbilt wants to succeed, they're going to have to try and contain Otega-Oweh. Otega-Oweh, for those unfamiliar, is the brother of Odafe Oweh, who is an NFL defensive end and may end up being a Tennessee Titan. We'll see. But he was projected to be the SEC Player of the Year. Obviously, things have gone off the rails for Kentucky this year, so it's not entirely possible for that to happen. But you're right, Willie. I think this is a revenge game for Kentucky. I just saw that Rupp Arena is going to be striped. So you got blue on one side, white on the other. And how cool is that for Vandy fans to say Kentucky is striping it out for us? They're afraid. So I think this is going to be a very physical game. To D-Mace's point, I think Kentucky is going to try and get to Tyler Tanner just because, like you said, Willie, he's maybe not worn down, but you can see kind of his minutes are getting up there. And he's, I don't want to say losing a step, but he's not playing National Player of the Year level like he was early in the season. So this is going to be a very physical matchup. I think it's two teams that have a lot to play for. They're both probably safely in the national tournament, but you're playing for SEC seeding here because there's that log jam in the middle of the SEC. And ultimately, I think it's just for the Rupp crowd. They're coming off of a loss to Georgia in that building the last time we saw them. So it's, can you get that crowd re-energized? And we all know Kentucky is a crowd that very easily gets energized and is very, very, very passionate about basketball. So not that Vanderbilt isn't. Of course they are. But it's going to be a physical game. I'm very interested to watch this one. It's a big one for both teams. And, I mean, I would take Vanderbilt to win probably. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow and take it to the bank. But I think Vanderbilt's the better team. It's just environment and factors that contribute to Kentucky's success for me.
Kentucky's last 3 games. How about this? Vanderbilt at home, at Texas A&M, Florida at home. So they've got 3 tough opponents down the stretch. Vanderbilt has 3 road games down the stretch because of the switch of the Ole Miss game. They've got at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee. So neither one of them have cupcakes here.
Right.
You know, it's never easy to win on the road, although Ole Miss has struggled some. But Ole Miss gave Vanderbilt a really good game in Nashville. So they matched up pretty well. They're going to feel pretty good about their chances, I think, in that game. So there's no gimmies here in this league.
No, it's not. And I am really surprised with how Kentucky has played this year.
Yeah, me too.
I really
Tell me
am.
about it.
Because some games you see them and it's like, okay, that's the Kentucky team that, you know, I thought they were going to be. But then they come back and they play, they play Vandy. Vandy's a good team, but it was like they didn't show up at all. And then they lose 3 straight before beating South Carolina. You just don't know which team you're going to get when you come watch the Wildcats play. And that's the unfortunate part because, people complain so much about Coach Cal last year. And
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And look at what Coach Cal has done with that Arkansas Razorback program. And it seems like yours, because I asked this question, what was it, a couple months ago, Willie? Like, where is Kentucky as a program now?
It's an interesting question. I don't think they're quite at the level of, the blue bloods that still claim they're blue bloods, but their programs have kind of like Indiana and UCLA and teams like that. I think they're still somewhat of a gold standard in college basketball, but it is interesting to see how the program has changed direction since Cal has left and Mark Pope has come in because, you'll have your big wins, that win against Duke, and then you'll have games like your Michigan State game this year where Michigan State just came in and blew them out. They've had games like that. It's very interesting to see. And the other thing that's contributing to it is he doesn't have any commits right now. He's got 0 recruits as of right now. So unless he workshops something and then just nails the portal, they're going to be in this situation next year. But as far as Vanderbilt, I could say the opposite. That's a program that has reemerged under Mark Byington. They've got their guy at coach. Recruiting is going well for them. They hit the portal hard, and I can only see things going up for Vanderbilt. So I think this game is kind of the tale of 2 teams from that standpoint.
I think you're going to see some big urgency in Lexington. That's going to be, I think, a really good game. Owe is a really interesting guy to me. He is that classic downhill slasher, attacks the basket. And we were talking about this before the show starts. The way the game is played now, with basically everybody on the court, with a couple of exceptions, is a guy that could probably knock down an open 3. And the line's further back.
Yeah.
So and nobody posts up, right? It's all cutters, ball screens out high. And what that creates is a lot of downhill runs at the basket. You got rim protectors. They've changed the rules on taking the charge, right? So guys just fly at the basket. And Owe is a guy that, he shoots 1 million free throws.
Yeah.
And I think every SEC game, most people have the same impression. Wow, that was physical, right? Wow. I think the game has become very difficult for all teams, not just Vanderbilt or Kentucky, but I'd throw Tennessee in there. Every game I watch, it's hard to officiate.
Yeah.
You have so many, these drives to the basket. Did he get fouled? Did he not get fouled? Did he lean in? Did the guy stay straight up? Was it goaltending? I mean, there's just a lot of action at the basket that I think makes it really tough to officiate. I think some refs are probably like, look, I could call a foul on every play here, but then we'll shoot free throws all night. Everybody will be mad at me there. If I don't call everything, then I'll say, hey, they let him play. But hey, what about the foul? What about the foul? I think I've seen examples of both
I
where
was
they let
screaming that
everything
last
go.
night.
Or like last night, I think was like
Yeah.
that. They let him play.
Yeah.
And I think in contrast, the Alabama game where there's like 75 free throw shot, everyone's like, "Wait, is this game ever going to end? What's the deal?"
We've been here
But
4 hours.
It's just the product of how
Yeah.
the action is going right now.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, the Preds are in action tonight once again. For the first time in 2.5 weeks, the Nashville Predators take the ice here at Bridgestone Arena to take on the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll preview that matchup while we have Willie here. And then, of course, at the top of the hour, Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet will join us. But coming up next, we'll talk Preds right here on DVD. Connor Newton, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game.
Let's talk Lone Pronto. Remember their mantra, and that is it's 2026. It's off and running. It is time, as we get close to March Madness, to make sure, if you haven't already, to take advantage of the fact that the interest rates are down. And if you have been hearing this message over and over from me and from Lone Pronto, if you're getting eaten up by credit card bills and loans sucking the life out of your finances, it is time to stop that right now and use the rapid equity loan from the home equity from Lone Pronto. It's outstanding. Let's just take the examples that I've been throwing out there. Here's one. Corey and Jack called Lone Pronto. They needed to pay off some credit card bills and a car loan. In a matter of days, they had over $100,000 taken out of their home's equity. They kept their 3% mortgage intact, and they didn't even need an appraisal. They used that money to get that credit card bill to zero, not paying that high interest bill every month. Knocked out that car loan as well that also had a higher interest loan. And the net result is they saved over $1,000 a month. You can do this too. Pay off the credit card, slash the monthly payments, breathe easier, and get your life back. Just call Lone Pronto, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D-Mace, Fingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you. Adam Vingen out today, spending time with his newly expanded family. So I am in today and tomorrow to finish out the week here with the gentlemen. We are here at Bridgestone Arena outside Section 111 at the Jack Daniels Barrel House, where the Predators and Chicago Blackhawks are looking to do battle tonight in the first game for both teams back from the Olympic break. It's been 2.5 weeks. I forgot this arena existed until today and how to get here. No offense to, of course, the Predators. But they are in action tonight. It's a big game for the Predators if they want to get right on the back on the right path, headed to playoff contention. They're 4 points out of a playoff spot. Willie, what is the key to tonight's matchup? How can the Predators start, I guess you could say, the second half of the season off with some momentum?
I asked Andrew Burnett this morning, I said, what are you leaning more towards telling the guys just dive right in and just come out flying, or ease into it, don't make the mistake, try to make the easy pass? And he blended the two, and he said controlled urgency. He goes, we cannot afford to come out slow. We can't take a night off. We know what the situation is. They need every point they can get. They're 4 points behind. Last night, all things considered, went fairly well in the day-to-day scoreboard watching. LA lost last night in regulation. Seattle lost in regulation last night. So Utah lost in regulation. They got a little bit of help. So they could end up the night even closer if they can play well. But who knows? When you haven't played in 3 weeks, I think this game has got a wild card factor to it that it is really hard to predict. And I know Andrew Burnett probably has been lying in bed at night thinking about that. How are we going to play? Are we going to come out looking good? Like, this team was playing some pretty good hockey going in despite the horrific starts that they've been having, right? They've been down. For people that forgot, and I can understand if you forgot, the last 4 games they played, they were down by 2 or more goals in all 4 of those games. But they went 2-1-1 in those 4. And even in the one that they lost in Washington, the last game, they got back to within a goal. They were right there trying to do it again. So it would help if they don't go down 2-0 to start the game.
Yeah.
But anything can happen, I think, tonight.
Yeah, and, the way UC play in the Olympics, and I know he has sort of a layover getting back here.
And we'll see if he's in there tonight.
Yeah, if he does play tonight, I think he can carry over some of that momentum. Hopefully Stamkos can continue to do what he has been doing throughout the season. And will the young kid LaRue play tonight? I believe he will be in there. LaRue will be. And I think we're all real curious to see what he looks like. He's got to be chomping at the bit. He played over 60 games for the Predators last year. This will be his first game this year. I don't think he planned on spending as much time as he has in Milwaukee this year. Of course, injuries had quite a bit to do with it, but he's had to be patient. And he didn't just, get the free green light. Hey, come back up here as soon as you're ready. He had to wait and continue to produce at Milwaukee. We'll see if he can give him a spark. What I think we're going to see tonight, and I hope this is the case, I know I feel this way, just after watching that Olympic tournament, just a buzz for the game. I think people tonight, are going to be excited to watch a hockey game.
It's going to be a packed house tonight.
I think, and it's Predators, Blackhawks. I mean, you have the built-in hatred and rivalry, but I think after watching all this hockey, you're like, oh man, they hadn't had a game on. Like, people are going to be pumped, I think, to watch this. That's why I think the start would be huge for the home team if you can channel that some.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for this one just because I want to see the speed. I want to see, all right, like you said, Willie, we're excited to play this game. The fans, I think, are going to be into it. You're going to have a loud environment tonight. It's a rivalry game. It's an interdivisional matchup. So I think that's what makes it fun. This is the kind of game where I think the veterans need to step up to the young guys and say, hey, look, I know you're not used to this. We've been off for a little while. Let's get back into the swing of things. And the guys I'm looking for, and as far as the young guys are concerned, to make an impact, of course, Zach LaRue, I'm really interested to see what Matt Wood looks like tonight, because that was a guy early in the season that it just felt like he could not miss. And he picked up some momentum heading into this break as well. So I'm curious to see how he looks coming out of this break. And, of course, the guys that were overseas playing in the Olympics, Philip Forsberg, Eric Holla. If UC Saros is in net tonight, I'm curious to see if he can keep up the momentum he had in the Olympics. There's a lot of storylines going into this one, Willie, that I think are going to be really fun to watch.
Matt Wood is an interesting one because they decided to have him go down to Milwaukee to play some games. And keep in mind that Matt Wood, who's still only 20 years old, he came straight from college right to the Predators last year at the end of the season. So he didn't do the stopover in Milwaukee right away. He didn't even really get to play with Milwaukee after the Predators season ended for the playoffs. So all told, he hasn't played a lot of games in the AHL. So a little tune-up down there, I'm hoping will set him back in the right direction to get that confidence back. Because you're right, early in the season, he was providing a really good scoring edge. That dropped off some. But he's the kind of guy who can make a play or two that could be a difference in the game. And this is an interesting matchup with all the young players that the Blackhawks roll out there. They're one of the youngest teams out there.
Yeah. Wow. What about Marchessault? He's the last 5 games he's been okay.
He's been chipping in. Yeah, he's been chipping in.
Getting 5 points a goal.
That is a great one. Like, what are you going to get from him? What's he been doing the last 3 weeks? What's been going on behind the scenes? Is he locked in, wanting to stay? Remember, he's got some no trade protection. There's been trade rumors around him. In the last game, he scored a goal, but he also took a bad penalty, kind of an undisciplined penalty. So everybody has a fresh start. But that's a guy I would circle tonight just to see what does he look like. You got 5 games before the trade deadline. Does he spark into some wins and you're like, wow, they're surging. They could do this. They could be in there. Or is it, well, he's playing well, his stock's up, let's trade him. Or is he up for that? Where does he want to go? There's a lot of X factors there.
Question on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, 615-737-1025. Sean on the text line asks, factor in Olympic injuries from around the league. Who should be getting traded off the Preds before the deadline? I assume he's referring to the injuries to Crosby and Kevin Fiala that were within the Olympics.
Yeah, Crosby is out for 4 weeks minimum. Mikko Rantanen, who plays for Dallas, and that's the Predators' first road game here, and he's a great player. He's out for multiple weeks. And you mentioned Kevin Fiala out for the regular season. So there were some big injuries, and that was going to be a fact of life in that tournament. You can't just have a tournament with that intensity and have nobody get hurt. Right. It would be nice. I think you're going to hear plenty of noise, and Elliott's coming on at 5, so we'll hit him with these questions. He knows better than I do. But I think you'll definitely hear Elliotte say that, in particular, Eric Holla, who had an excellent Olympics, bronze medal, 3 goals, 5 points, really stood nose to nose against the best players in the world, looked good. He was playing well going into the break as well. He's a center. He's an expiring contract. He's played on a lot of really good teams. He would be an attractive rental for somebody. Michael Bunting, same way. Michael McCarron, same way. All 3 expiring contracts. If Barry Trotz didn't make a single phone call to somebody, his phone will be ringing about those 3 guys, as well as the obvious one is O'Reilly, right? Everybody's going to see what the temperature is on O'Reilly. So we'll see what Elliott's hearing on his thing, but I go back to the same dilemma. You can sit there and say, boy, you can get a killing for O'Reilly. Do it, because he's playing so well. But at the same time, he's the glue that's holding the team together, I think, as much as any player on this team.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Coming up next, it'll be 5 o'clock on a Thursday. We'll talk to our man Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet. After the Olympic break and ahead of the NHL trade deadline, we'll get all his thoughts on things around the hockey world. DVD hour number 3 coming up next. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. D-Mace, Vingen and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick with you on this Thursday, live from Bridgestone Arena outside Section 111 in the Jack Daniels Barrel House. Predators and Chicago Blackhawks in action tonight. The first game for both teams out of the Olympic break. But it's 5 o'clock on a Thursday. Let's say hello to our man, Elliotte Friedman, presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Elliotte Friedman from Sportsnet joins us now. Elliotte, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Really just want to ask you, we're coming out of the Olympic break. It was a fun 2.5 weeks. Just how big was the Olympics for growing the sport of hockey in the United States and really all over the world?
Well, first of all, let me say this, and I know I might be speaking to people who feel a little bit differently. I loved everything about the Olympics except the last play.
Really? I didn't have a problem with it.
The U.S. won it fair and square. They deserved it. They earned it from puck drop to end. They were the best team. Canada played its two best periods of the tournament in the second and third, and Hellebuck stoned them. I still have no idea how he made that one particular save. But they did a phenomenal job. They earned the gold. I mean, look, it got big numbers. It got big attention. It's been quite a week, I'll say that. But I think there's a lot of people who, like someone said to me, Jack Hughes' Instagram has gained, I think, 500,000 followers in a week. And that's kind of the way we measure these things now, right? So that says to me that there's a lot of interest in him personally. I mean, that picture of him in the American flag with a chipped tooth, I mean, that's going to go down as one of the greatest pictures in the history of photography. And I think anything that brings eyeballs is a great thing.
Elliotte, speaking of the Olympics, there have been players throughout different teams across the National Hockey League that have gone down with injuries due to that. I'm looking at teams that are battling some of those injuries. The Pittsburgh Penguins with Sidney Crosby, the Los Angeles Kings with Kevin Fiala. Are there teams out there that could use the Nashville Predators at the trade deadline to kind of fill those positions?
Well, I think so, yes. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I even think that even before some of these teams suffered injuries, they were looking at some of Nashville's players. And, you know, I hesitate to make a lot of proclamations like anything. I say that this is stamped in stone or cut in stone, that this is the way it's going to be. But it seemed when I got back Monday, started making my calls. People seemed not certain that O'Reilly or Stamkos would go anywhere now. But again, I want to stress, like, that can always change quick. But that's where it was coming out of the Olympic trade freeze. I think there's certainly an attempt with Marchessault. And then after that, like, one guy who had a great Olympics, played great, was Holla. Like, he was really impactful. He's a center. I have to think there's a market for him. And then some of the other players you have, like the Perbixes, the Buntings, the McCarrans, guys like that, I think teams will kind of circle through and see what Nashville's looking at. But I did have one guy say to me because I went after the bronze medal game, which Finland won, I walked into somebody from an NHL team as I was leaving the rink that night, and they did say Holla did nothing to hurt his market value here.
And speaking of that, Elliotte, the Olympics, how is the women's hockey team covered over there? Because the women, the U.S. women, they've won gold, but it seems like they've been slighted just a tad bit. How is it viewed over in Canada?
Well, you know what, honestly, I think it's unfortunate, Derek, the way that happened. I'll tell you something. I went to the women's round robin game against Canada where the U.S. pounded them 5-0. And the first guy I walked into in the building was Vincent Trocheck, who plays for the Rangers and is part of the U.S. men's team. And I know the Kachucks were there for their semifinal. And one of my coworkers was near the Hughes brothers. They were there for the women's final where they beat Canada. And I think generally, like Charlie McAvoy promotes them all the time. I think generally the players from both the U.S. and Canada really support the women's team. And, you know, I'm preparing for taping our podcast tonight. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. You know, I think unfortunately what happened in the celebration, it was unfair to the women. And I actually think a little bit unfair to the men because, you know, Derek, you've won championships before. People who didn't win shouldn't be in those rooms. Like, you know, like I go to every year I'm there when the Stanley Cup is presented. And, you know, at the end of the game, at the end of our broadcast, I'll go by the team that lost and anyone I know in there, I'll just shake their hands and wish them condolences. And then I'll go by the room of the team that won and I'll see, you know, hey, can I just wish congratulations to this guy or this guy? You shake their hand and then you get out of there. Like, I think celebrations are for the players who won, the coaches who won, the executives that won, the support staff that won, like the people who went on the journey together. Those are the people who should be celebrating. And as someone inserted himself into this one, and they opened up a can of trouble for the men's players. And, you know, the one thing that I really do believe, though, Derek, is that to 100% of the people who are on the outside who watch, whether you watch hockey a lot or you just tuned in for the Olympics to watch the games, what was said on that phone call did not in any way, shape, or form erase any respect or recognition for what the U.S. women did. They were a steamroller. They were dominant. They earned that gold just as much as the men did. And only Canada, playing their best game of the last 4 years, even got the U.S. into overtime in the gold medal game. And I really believe that, Derek. I think that, like, I understand the women's players, like, it's said about you and you're wounded and you feel hurt and you feel like the butt of the joke. But I think as time goes on, they will all recognize that just because that was said about them, nobody with a brain in the world felt any differently about what they accomplished. They were like, that's stupid. And we saw how great you were, and we all know it.
We're talking with Elliotte Friedman, 32 Thoughts podcast. Now, speaking of another Olympian, UC Saros. He played well throughout the Olympics.
Sure
do you
did.
expect that to carry over to the season? What now? We don't know if he's going to be in net tonight or not. It hasn't been said. He did get back a little late, you know, so I don't know what they're going to do as far as that. But do you think that momentum can translate into the remainder of the season?
I think it should. I mean, he's. We know he probably didn't party as much as the Americans did, so there's no reason he should battle any hang. Like, it was funny yesterday. I saw JT Miller skating, and he's like, "I need to skate to sweat out the alcohol." He basically admitted it, and so I'm not sure that Saros needs it as much. But you know, I mean, he played. I actually think in a lot of ways, that's gonna be a good thing for Saros. Like, I mean, you'll have to monitor him. You'll have to give him a break here and there. But he played his last game Saturday. It's Thursday today. He has time to get his body back on clock. But the other thing is, like, he's going to feel great about himself after that. And, you know, I know the Finnish players. I went to the bronze medal game, and I spoke to a few of them after, and they were really disappointed about losing that semifinal to Canada. Like, that really hurt. But they were really proud of the medal. And, like, I didn't get a chance to see Saros after the game, but I saw him doing interviews. And Derek, he was beaming. Like, he was so proud. And I just think something like that, it always makes you feel 3 feet taller than you are. And I think it'll be a great thing for him and the team.
We're talking to Elliotte Friedman, 32 Thoughts. Great podcast. They did fantastic work over at the Olympics. Now back for the stretch run Elliotte, I'm going to go back to something you referenced before, and I'm curious, especially where you sit in Canada. I can remember countless games over the years involving the Predators, sometimes even big playoff games, where some people, and usually I'm on this side, I will make a point of, hey, this team played really well, couldn't have played a whole lot better, but the puck just didn't go in. You made this reference point. I don't know how Canada could have played really any better without winning the game in the last two periods. But that's hockey, and you have this faction of people that just can't comprehend that. It's like either you get it done or you don't. You either win or you're not. So that always creates a great discussion, and we're understanding more in sports, in all sports, with analytics and the things that can point and I guess paint the picture that way. But how are they trying to stomach that in Canada, given those circumstances?
Well, like there's a lot of people who really think it sucks. Like there's no question about that, Willie. I'll say this: most people in my circle or people that I deal with, I got home Monday afternoon and I went to the gym Monday night. I just wanted to get my body going, and most of the people in there were like, "Oh, that was tough, man. We played great, but we lost." And I think a lot of us too, Willie, if we look at it this way, since Best on Best really began, and it began at the Olympics in 1998 with a couple breaks in between, Canada's won on Best. They've won 3 gold medals. They've won 2 World Cups of hockey. They won the Four Nations last year, and they won the silver medal here. That's a lot of winning. And sooner or later, you lose. Okay. Now, 2 of those wins, Vancouver Olympics 2010, overtime. Last year, Four Nation, overtime. So the margins are slim, right? And that's the thing here. They played great. They lost in a 3-on-3 overtime. You're not going to win all the time. And that one sucked yesterday. And, it felt like a kick in the stomach, or the other day. That one, it felt like a kick in the, when it happened, our set in Milan was right above the end where Jack Hughes scored to end the tournament. And I saw the U.S. coming down 3-on-1, and I was like, oh no, this is very bad. I could see it coming. And when I saw the puck in, it was like a kick to the stomach. It hurt. But I was like, what can you do? Hellebuck was great. The U.S. had a great team. Last year when Canada won the Four Nations, Quinn Hughes was injured. This year, Sidney Crosby is injured. Sometimes the hockey gods smile on you, and sometimes they say, not your turn. And for us, this was not our turn.
I think about that a lot. It was just amazing to watch. Because I think if you played it 10 times, I don't think the Canadians would dominate all 10 games the way they did. I've seen a lot of games between those two teams that are much more evenly matched. It just shows you that in a one-game deal, you're liable to see any type of game.
Yep. It's like if you're a poker player, you could be the best poker player in the world, but if you don't get the cards, you can only bluff so many times, right?
Right. I want to ask you about, in particular, Connor Hellebuck, because it's unique. Yeah. And I was thinking about this a lot leading up to the tournament when you would run across these guys. Hellebuck in Winnipeg. Quinn Hughes for a while was Vancouver's featured player right before he got traded. Obviously, Austin Matthews in Toronto. Great U.S. stars playing in Canadian markets. What's that like for those guys, I wonder?
It's going to be interesting because, obviously some of the aftermath, I don't know if you saw the scrum around Brady Tkachuk today in Ottawa.
Yeah, Brady Tkachuk's another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has different feelings on that, right? There are people who think that line of questioning is too much, and there's other people who think that it's people are it's not enough. And everybody handles it differently. if you take a look at Canadian teams, there's been a lot of U.S. players who signed extensions here. Quinn Hughes did, JT Miller did, Johnny Gaudreau did in Calgary. Blake Wheeler and Dustin Byfuglien did in Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuck now has twice in Winnipeg. Brady Tkachuk in Ottawa. Austin Matthews. Like, if Austin Matthews stays his entire career and contract in Toronto, and he's got, I think, 2 more years on it, he's, you know what, he's, I think, going to be here 12 years. So, like, good U.S. players do sign here. You know, it's noisier. You know, the world is changing very quickly due to politics. And I think the social media generation, the world is changing fast. And the one thing you have to be able to do is shut out the noise. And honestly, in a lot of cases, Willie, I think it comes down to, can you handle the noise? Can you shut out the noise? And if not, you say, I want to go somewhere where it's a little less noisier. I think it's purely individual. I've seen, like, Quinn Hughes is a perfect example. He was happy in Vancouver for a long time until the team went south, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. And sometimes it's that simple. Do you think you have a chance to win?
One more for you, Elliotte, before we let you go. We asked Barry Trotz earlier this week. I asked him, do you think we might see a quick big trade or two that start the dominoes rolling before everybody has all the data in right before the deadline? He said he didn't think the price had been set on a lot of guys yet. What are your thoughts? Do you think teams will take it right to the wire and these next couple of days might sway a couple of teams, or do you think we might get 1 or 2 that jumpstart everything?
Famous last words, Willie. I was actually doing some research leading into this hit, and people were telling me it's quiet now. It's quiet now. You have no idea how scary it is for me to come on your show and say it's quiet now, because I know the moment I hang up, some big deal is going to come down, and the Nashvillians are going to be saying, "Why do you let that moron on your show every Thursday?" I all I can say is, like I'll say this, like, there's a lot of people in this league who try to use the deadline as, you know, I'm calm. I think I can make somebody else panic. So I'll say this, every year there's something I don't see coming, like a total shocker out of nowhere. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is figure out where that shocker is coming from.
Makes a lot of sense. Right? By the way, Elliotte, we've got your back either way. If there are 5 big trades tonight, we will say, Elliotte told us it's quiet, but you never know. The shocker could be coming.
I appreciate that, Willie. I appreciate you having my back.
Elliotte Friedman, our guest here on DVD. Elliotte, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Yep.
Thanks, Elliotte. Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet joins the show every Thursday at 5 p.m. He is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Willie, I know you got places to be, games to call, people to see, hopefully games to win.
Hands to shake.
That's right. Hands to shake. Just like spring training, remember? Just don't swing at the ones outside. Just call it right down the middle.
That's right. So just I'll remember the puck is not round.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any jump balls. I've been watching a lot of basketball. Let's not call anybody Kentucky Wildcat or anything like that.
Exactly.
Let's just hope I get it all right.
Just don't take what Rand Carthon said into account. The puck is not oblong. It's
right.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into some combine headlines and news. Myself and Derek Mason right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. We are live here at Bridgestone Arena in the Jack Daniels Barrel House, just outside Section 111. If you're headed to the game tonight, the Predators taking on the Blackhawks. Come by, see us. We're on till 6. And then, of course, Max Hers will have you covered with pregame coverage right after us. HMH, baby. Right Time HVAC and Cromwell Media are teaming up to bring comfort back to your home. Is your heating system struggling or completely out of commission following the winter storms? Nominate yourself for the Right Time Home Rescue and tell us your story. Enter today at thegamenashville.com/HVAC and you could win a new HVAC system installed by Right Time HVAC. Right Time HVAC, locally owned and operated. There's never a wrong time to call. Never a wrong time to call Right Time. There we go.
Well, the right time to call is all of these sub 540s that have been ran by these defensive tackles.
I know you and I were watching it in the break. It's
man, the kid out of Penn State, he runs at 4.76. You know how fast that is for a big man?
Yeah.
That is zooming for a big man.
That is as you said, and I'm not going to name names, but
Caleb Proctor.
He
runs a 4.84.
Oh my goodness. That's a faster time than a certain practice squad receiver.
I'm not going to even mention his name.
Nope, I'm not going to say names either because they'll all come.
Anybody under the bus.
They'll all come for us. But
these big boys, Grayson Halton from OU runs a 4.83. Man, if this is a preview of the speed we're going to see, man, look out, boy.
So I have in front of me the official measurements from the edge rushers in this draft class that are, of course, participating in the combine. The one you all want to hear, I'm sure, Ruben Bain measures at 6'2", 263, 9 1/8 inch hands with 30 7/8 inch arms. Does that concern you, D-Max?
Listen, he was highly productive in college. And he showed against the best of the best that he is a force to be reckoned with. So I don't know how the arm length and the hand size project to the NFL. I know his productivity, his endless, motor, sideline to sideline, the sort of power he plays with, that translates to the NFL. So, we asked this question of Matic. We had him on the other day, Trevor. And because they're coming, the last couple of years, they've really focused in on arm length and hand size. And I get it, rightfully so. But we were wondering, when did that become a thing? Because when I was, going through the combine, arm length, hand size stuff, it didn't matter. It was about the 40.
Right.
Your drills you do.
Can you catch a ball?
Exactly. It wasn't unless they were just abnormally wow, you really are. But typically it's nothing that was on the front page. Now it seems I think because of a lot of these guys are so closely comparable, they look for those other little things, sort of tangible things like arm length, hand size, stuff like that. And now it's become a big thing, especially with certain positions.
Yeah. I don't want to lie to you and say it's not concerning to me. It is something that I think is going to be a storyline, especially if he gets drafted here. But in watching Ruben Bain play, he's productive. And I've noticed the reason he's productive. He has elite ankle and knee mobility that allows him to get under the block or sidestep the block and go straight for the quarterback. I'm not overly concerned about his hand and arm measurements because I think that's kind of an overblown measurement. Like he said, they didn't used to measure this stuff. They just measure it now because, I guess, I don't know. They want a super in-depth look at what player you are drafting. For context, David Bailey, the other edge rusher that the Titans are considering drafting, I guess you could say, measures at 6'4", 251, 10 1/4 inch hands, 33 3/4 inch arms. So just for comparison, I don't know. I feel like Bailey is going to go number 2 to the Jets, especially after today.
Yeah, they want to see how he runs, obviously.
Sure.
If he does run, how he do how each one of those guys, whether it's Reese, Bain, or Bailey, they want to see how these guys perform in the drills. So, but when you're talking about measurables, obviously that is, I'm sure, prototypical of a guy's his height and weight and playing that position. But it's not necessarily, will determine how he performs in the NFL. I think Salah said this. It was either Salah or Borganzi. Sometimes guys with long arms don't know how to use them.
Yeah, it was Borganzi yesterday.
Borganzi, yeah. And sometimes guys with short arms figure out how to beat you. And I look at Ruben Bain as one of those guys that figures out how to beat you because he's so explosive. He gets into you before you can get into him. So maybe it's something that will, discourage, people. But I don't think it's one of those deals where, the Titans would seriously take him off the board or not draft him because of that. But he's been highly productive. And again, he's played against the best offensive lines in the country, and he's dominated them.
Yeah. Yeah. He's played at a Power 4 level. I mean, you just saw him play the best teams in the nation in college football. He was in a national championship against the team that won. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Phone and text line. You're in by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tommy says on the text line, Bailey ran a 4.5, which is
fast,
really fast for an edge rusher. But he says he seemed to grab his hip flexor. Is he okay?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see that either.
I didn't see it. So
4.5 is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like I'm surprised there wasn't like a trail of fire behind him, like Back to the Future. But that is ridiculous. Injury, I think if he grabs his hip flexor, I don't think that would be a massive deal. It
could be.
Could be
anything that when you're concerning your waist on down, especially for a guy like him.
Let's see. Richie from White House says, I can see the Titans using Ruben Bain arm length as a leverage for him to drop in the draft and teams to pass on him and draft other players who do well in the combine. They can look for teams to trade back a couple spots, get some more draft capital they are looking for, and then draft Bain not so high in the draft if he's available, or draft an offensive player to fill in some spots on the offensive side. I don't think they're going to trade down. I think they're going to stick and pick. I think I could see a world where maybe he drops stock, but if you like the player, and you go out and get him. It's the same thing we're talking about with Cam Ward. Obviously a different position here, but if you like Ruben Bain and what he provides, of course, go out and draft it. If you like David Bailey and what you think he can provide, draft him.
I think the best case scenario for me is one of those quarterbacks, have a great showing at the combine, then their pro day, and their stock just moves up further and further and further.
Yeah, like Ty Simpson.
Yes, Ty Simpson. I think he's probably the only quarterback that can find himself in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy like Ty Simpson. And then I think the Titans, them trading a few spots down and still being able to get a offensive guy and a defensive guy, because I figure if you move in 2 spots, and we talked about this yesterday, you move in 2 spots down, you can try to get, an extra second.
Yeah.
Just to flip picks, an extra second, and maybe something the next following year. And if you're able to do that, you're able to move down a spot, get the guy offensively or defensively that you want, and then double back and address either the offense or the defense, because you then would have 2 picks in the second round, and hopefully they're high second round picks.
Yeah. Well, like you and I and Willie have been talking about pretty much all show, I think it's going to be telling what the Titans are thinking they're going to do based on what we see in free agency.
Yeah.
If they go out and hammer out, well, we're going to sign 2 good edge rushers, they're probably thinking we're going to go offensively to help Cam Ward, a la Jeremiah Love, or maybe they do trade back and go after a wide receiver. I love Carnell Tate. I don't think he's a top 4 pick, but I love Carnell Tate. I would love him here. That would be great. I like Mekhi Lemon. I don't think he's a top 4 pick. I'd love him here. But I think logistically the safest thing right now for me to think is that the Titans are going to go edge rusher just because of what we saw today. I don't think not Jermaine Jackson. I'm gonna keep doing it till the end. Jermaine Johnson. He's not a defense changing edge rusher based on his numbers, the film I've watched on him today. And look, it wasn't, in-depth NFL film dive, but I did look up his highlights just to see what we were getting. And look, he's not a defense-changing edge rusher. I think if you're going to want that, you're either going to pay a lot of money for one of these veteran guys like Trey Hendrickson or the kid out of I say kid, he's older than me. The
Crosby.
Crosby. Well, you'd have to give up draft capital for him,
but you don't.
He's out of the Eagles. Anyways, Jalen Phillips. That's who it is. You're either going to pay big bucks for them, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable doing that with aging edge rushers, or you're going to draft one. You're going to draft Reuben Bain, or you're going to draft David Bailey, or maybe you really like Arvell Reese. I don't think, as of right now, my stance has changed on drafting that player. Things could change, but that's where I am right now.
Yeah, I would love for them to move down. As I said, I would love for them to move down and still be able and are able to address both the offense and the defense. I really do. And like you said, a lot of it will be sort of revealed once free agency hits on what direction they may want to go in. I figure if they get another veteran lineman, that may persuade them to sort of move out of that 4th pick down a couple of slots and helping on the offensive side of the ball. And then doubling back, like I said, and getting you a rush in. There are not a lot of top end elite rush ins. There's only the 3 or 4 guys that everyone projects in the top 5, but there are some really good rush ins that you can get later on in the draft. And if they can get an offensive guy first and double back and get a defensive guy in the 2nd round, that would be good if they're still able to get the guy that they envision can play in this defense.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Coming up next, an interesting text has come up, D. Mason. I'm interested to grab your thoughts on that. I'll reveal what it is on the other side. One more segment for us here on this Thursday, and then we'll hand you over to Max Hers as he gets you set for Preds hockey as they take on the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, we are live from Bridgestone Arena today, just outside Section 111 here at the Jack Daniels Barrel House. If you're headed to the game, come by, see us, say hi. We'll be around. But coming up next, we'll wrap things up right here on DVD. Connor Newt, Derek Mason here with you on 102.5 The Game. Final segment here on this Thursday. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here with you on 102.5 The Game. Adam Vingen out today as he is celebrating his new family. Willie Donick has since departed us to go do his other job, call the Predators, as they are in action tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. Myself, Connor Newt, Derek Mason, live here from Bridgestone Arena. We are outside Section 111 in the Jack Daniels Barrel House. We are getting you set for the Predators and Blackhawks coming up. Puck drop in just about an hour. We'll hand things over to Max Hers here shortly.
Man,
But as we wrap things up here, D-Mace.
did you see this?
What did I miss?
Sonny Styles, vertical 43.5,
Ooh.
set a NFL combine record.
He might be playing the wrong sport.
Yeah, man.
Get that man in the dunk contest.
And he had an 11-2 broad jump. Man, that dude. Whew. The
Ohio
measurables
State
are there.
Ohio State always puts through these athletic defensive freaks.
Yeah,
It's kind of wild.
yeah.
Sonny Styles. Played alongside Arvell Reese, of course. But there is an interesting text here that I'm curious of your thoughts on, D-Mace. Texter on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, "Hey, D-Mace, I wonder if J.C. Latham is next to be traded. Borgonzi doesn't like Rand's guys."
I don't think it's that he doesn't like Rand guys. I mean, the guys that are no longer here, that they both they traded away, they just didn't fit what they envisioned.
Yeah.
Not that they were bad players. They just didn't fit what they envisioned. J.C. Latham embodies, I believe, what they want. Hard work, dedication, a guy that's going to, show up, be there, do the things you ask him, and be a good teammate.
Mm-hmm.
JC has been nothing but a good teammate. They moved him from left tackle to right tackle. And he's continued to keep his head down and get better as a player. So I don't think it has much to do with them not liking. They just may not fit what they want to do now as far as like scheme wise, but it's only been, a few people now. What they do with L'Jarius Sneed and Calvin Ridley, a lot of that will be based not because it's their injury history, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is injured and he has a big cap number. And then you look at Calvin Ridley, a guy that has been productive, but he's been in the ice tub more than he's been on the field. So those will be factors when it comes to, more of what we deem Rand guys.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get behind the narrative that they don't like Rand drafted guys, because I think there are Rand drafted guys on this roster that are kind of pivotal to it right now.
Yeah.
Tajay Spears in the backfield. I don't think he's your game-changing running back, but he's a good third down back to have, and I can't see them moving on from him. Chigakonkwo.
Yes.
Like, you've been on the Chigakonkwo train all show, actually. I think
Peter Skoronsky.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can't get behind the idea that we're just going to get rid of all the Rand drafted guys just because he's not here anymore. I think that's counterproductive.
Cedric Gray is another
Cedric
one.
Gray, yeah. I'm trying to think of other ones. They'll come to me. But regardless, we can't just undo everything Rand Carthon has done. We can undo some of it.
Yes.
Like the L'Jarius Sneed signing was a bad sign. Calvin Ridley, I could live without him. I would understand if they brought him back. Actually, I think it would be good if they brought him back just to have a veteran wide receiver if they can't land like Alec Pierce or something. But we can't undo every single thing Rand Carthon has done.
No, and I don't think you should. You don't have to.
And I also don't think. Oh, sorry.
No, because again, I mean, you have a few guys that are still here that are critical to the growth of your program. And an offensive line, you have two of them, in Skoronsky and J.C. Latham.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you got Cedric Gray on the other side, Chigakonkwo, who has produced for your team, and you may let him go test the market, but then you may also, sign him back based on what the market says. So they're just looking for good players.
Yeah.
Good players that fit what they want to do.
I mean, I also don't think now is the time to just completely give up on J.C. Latham.
No.
He did some good things last season. I know penalties were a bit of a concern for him, and there were times he couldn't stay healthy, but I don't think now is the time to give up on him. I think he's a cornerstone of that offensive line moving forward.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy they should look to build around, if anything.
Oh, absolutely. He and Peter Skoronski.
Yeah.
They got to figure out their right guard position and the center position. And Dan Moore, he's under contract for another 2 or 3 years, and he may not even see the length of that contract. So
yeah, I think he's got an out after this season.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
You got areas on your team that you're going to have to, within the next 2 years, really address.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of holes on this team, and I think if you cut players that are productive just because they were drafted by Rand Carthon, that's pretty counterintuitive, don't you think?
Cutting off your nose, spite your face.
Yeah, I mean, come on. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Texter on the text line says, in reference to the combine, why is everyone so concerned about how fast a D-line or a linebacker is? Running in a straight line is one thing, but how smooth is said player in changing direction? Are his hips bolted on? What's the reaction time? Can they flip their hips and change direction quick and cover? Can they shed a block? Can they overpower the blocker? Why does it matter that a defensive line runs a sub 5.4 40-yard dash? Because it's a measurable thing.
Exactly. And those guys, it's about the power and them being able to, once a running back gets past that front wave, turn around and go track him down. I've seen several defensive backs turn around and go track a guy downfield, and I'm talking about a running back or a receiver. I've actually been on the field when this happened. So that's why now, because we talked about it with the arm length and the hand size.
Yeah.
They're looking for any measurable that they believe will give them the edge. And if you can get a D lineman, now he has to have some skill.
Right.
He has to be able to bend his hips, and they do have drills for that. Because like the texter said, you're right. What's a sub 540 if you can't bend your hips or you can't get around and make or change the direction? You're absolutely right about that. But if that guy runs that sub 5, you're hoping that it translates to him being able to bend and get underneath offensive linemen and then turn and redirect.
I mean, any general manager that is drafting based off of measurables like this probably shouldn't be an NFL general manager, right? Like this guy runs a 440. How crazy is that? Let's draft him immediately in the first round.
There has been some GMs that have done it in the past.
That's
and it
happened
hasn't
before.
worked.
John Ross is the perfect
Oh,
example.
my goodness.
But it makes more sense to do that with a wide receiver than it does with a linebacker or a defensive line. But to go off of your point, I think you're right in that, yes, there's skill involved. Can they shed a block or what have you? Can they get to the quarterback? Can they make plays on the defensive end? But like we said, they're measurable things. This is the combine. They measure just about everything. And, that's why it is impressive to see a big boy like that run a 4.5. We were watching it during the break.
Yeah.
Those boys were blazing.
Man. It's something to see a big dude like that run. Man, just think how you going to stop something that's coming at you that fast. It's hard to do. But like the Texas said, I mean, how many times are these guys actually – but this is with the 40 period. How many times in a game is a guy actually running a 40-yard sprint? Not too many times. No. That's why I like certain drills, whether it's a cone drill. It's about me short yardage quickness, the ability to drop your hips, move side to side, and at an angle as quick as the next guy, because that's what separates a lot of, it's at least from the wide receiver, defensive back. It's a matter of inches. Who can get their hips down and out of that break quick enough? Whoever does it wins. And now it's becoming that way with defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. You may be able to get underneath that offensive lineman, but what happens when they throw a screen over your head? Can you redirect quickly and get to the running back? So you're right. Running a sub 540 isn't anything if you can't do what I just said.
I mean, it's just a display of athleticism.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And just wait till the Jeremiah Love 40 time comes out tomorrow.
I want to see that one. That's the one I'm very interested in it, because I believe if he runs a sub 4, if he runs like a 4.3,
Oh, Lord.
it's going to be hard to pass him up. I'm telling you, it's going to be very hard to pass that up.
I mean, yeah, he can make plays in the
He's,
backfield.
he's your kid, Christian McCaffrey, or your Saquon Barkley, or your Jahmyr Gibbs. That's who he is.
He is. Well, that'll do it for us here on DVD today. For Derek Mason and Willie Donick, my name is Connor Newt. If you're headed to the game, Max Hers with the pregame coverage coming up next. Preds and Blackhawks doing battle tonight. But we say so long. We'll see you tomorrow right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Thursday. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music? Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you tomorrow, 3 p.m. from the studio. Peace.